My clinics always start on a Tuesday evening. On Monday, the people have been off about 6 days. And there's a few questions that I start to ask on the Monday session that if I asked on the earlier sessions, probably wouldn't get the response that I would be getting at this point in time. One of the questions I ask is I start going into noting some of the positive effects that are happening. That again, if I were to talk about this on the second or third day, very few people would be feeling them. But one of the questions that I will ask, like on the Monday, which again will be 6 days into the program, was like, how many people are now calmer since they quit smoking than they ever were when they were smoking? A significant percentage of people will already be raising their hands to that question. Now, what's amazing is when these people were smoking, they were convinced they needed cigarettes to calm them down. But here, within a relatively short time period, they're calmer now than when they were smokers. Another question I will ask then is, how many people seem to have more energy? And again, a significant number of people will raise their hands. What's interesting is they're often the same people. And at first it sounds like these are mutually exclusive terms. How could you have more energy and be calmer? Well, energy is if you have physical demands that you have to do, you've got the energy to do it. Calmness is if there's nothing going wrong, nothing, that's a problem, you're not feeling stressed from basically non-events going on. And these are types of things that smokers often felt themselves more nervous and yet drained of energy. After I bring up a few other issues of things that will start to improve, then I kind of go in for one point that, again, if I were to do this too soon in the clinic, I wouldn't get the same reaction that I'm getting now. I'm trying to get people in the clinic from day one to realize we're trying to get them to the point where they have a choice. If they go back to smoking on the second or third day, they didn't choose anything. Their addiction called the shots. It was controlling them. Cigarettes have a very powerful grip on people when they're coming into a program, or people who don't go into a program who just happen to be smokers. The kinds of questions that I ask like the first day of the clinic to try to assess what kind of level of control it has. I'll ask how many people have ever gone into ashtrays, taken out dirty butts and smoked them when they just ran out of cigarettes. And a lot of people have done that. And again, when they look back in retrospect, this is disgusting, going into an ashtray and taking out a dirty butt and smoking it. But if it's the only way to get cigarettes, hey, it's a legitimate route. I then ask how many people have ever gone into garbage bags and taken out butts when they ran out of cigarettes in the ashtrays. And again, it's not a majority, but it's probably about a quarter of groups who've gone into garbage bags, taken out butts and smoked them when they ran out of any other route of getting cigarettes. These are people who wouldn't go in and take food out of a garbage. They wouldn't take food out of an empty garbage. If it's an empty garbage, it's still a garbage. But cigarettes, you're digging through the food, you're digging through the coffee grinds, you're digging through whatever is in there in order to get a cigarette and put it in your mouth if you run out of supplies. What I try to do then is try to get the people to realize now, as opposed to where they were back then. Now they have a choice. But they have to base their decision, they have to base their choice on what their options are. Their options are they can smoke everything, they can smoke nothing. But the way I pose the question to them very carefully, and I spend time with the group and I say, I don't want you to formulate your answer to this question until you hear the whole question. I'm going to be very specific in what I am asking here. Given the choice between smoking nothing, zero, nothing, not a puff. I mean absolutely, positively no puffs at all on any cigarettes. No administration of any tobacco product. At this point in time, I guess I have to start throwing in patches of gums and nicotine products. But basically, the premise I'm trying to lay out, given a choice between smoking absolutely nothing and the other alternative, smoking the way you used to. The full amount of cigarettes you used to smoke. If it used to be a pack a day, we're talking a pack a day again. If you were smoking 2 packs a day, we're talking 2 packs a day. Given the choice between smoking nothing and smoking your old quantity, along with the medical implications that went with smoking that quantity, along with the social problems that went with smoking that quantity, along with the smells that went with smoking that quantity, along with the expense of smoking that quantity. Given a choice between smoking nothing and smoking everything, just the way you used to, full amount, until they follow out their natural course, where they will eventually cripple and then kill you. Given a choice between smoking absolutely nothing or chain smoking until it kills you, who here wants to go back to smoking again? Nobody will raise their hand to that question. Nobody. And it's interesting, if I didn't ask the question with that level of clarity, if instead I said, hey, you're out for 5 days now, you're starting to get a sense of what it's like not to smoke. Oh, you know what it's like to smoke? You were there a week ago. hey, give it a choice in smoking and not smoking. Who'd like to smoke again? Hands would have shot up to that question. If you asked that at that point in time, who would like to go back to smoking, they would have answered that in an affirmative manner. But it's because they weren't thinking about going back to smoking when they heard the question. They were thinking about going back to having a cigarette every now and then. But when it's laid out clearly what the real options are of smoking nothing or smoking everything, with all the implications that go with smoking everything, people do not want to be that smoker again. And this is the concept that all ex-smokers have to understand. There are going to be times where they think about a cigarette, and they're going to try to talk themselves out of that cigarette. And if they're not careful, if they don't do this correctly, they're going to have a problem. If they think in terms of one, they're going to drive themselves nuts. I want one. No, I don't. One sounds great. No, it doesn't. Oh, just one, not just one. Try to end that conversation. Try to end that debate. Both sides sound correct. They have to change the discussion. They don't have the option of one. To sit there and say, I want one, no, I don't, well, that second statement was a lie. They do want the one. The issue is, do they want the others that have to go with the one? And do they want the problems that go with the others? If they look at it like that, it's no longer a back and forth debate. It's the question is, do I want to be a full-fledged smoker with all the problems? The answer will be no. And that's the trick. As you get further and further along, to keep reminding yourself, it's not that you're depriving yourself of one. It is that you are ridding yourself of the others that go with the one and all the problems that go with the others. As long as you keep seeing cigarettes in their entirety, I'm not saying to look at them negatively, I'm saying to remember them exactly the way they were at the end. As long as people keep remembering them in that light, they will stay totally committed to never take another puff.